Welcome to 1000 PS, welcome to Portugal, welcome to the launch of Yamaha's new Tracer 7 and the Tracer 7 GT. Now, in a perfect world, in a perfect garage, we would have a sports bike for track days and occasional dangerous riding competitions. We'd have a big sports tourer, we'd have a big adventure bike, maybe something motocross, maybe something trials, maybe a big scooter to get us to work and back. Nice little commuter. But we don't all live in that perfect world. What we need is something all round that can do everything. And that's why the Tracer hit the spot so hard. It just was a good do-it-all bike. You could commute to work and back, no problem. You could do some miles on the bike. You could ride it two up. You could ride it sportily. You could have fun. It was entry level, it was easy, and it was accessible. And that's why it was such a success. And to build on that success, Yamaha have given us a new model for this year. Now, on face value, it doesn't look like they've done a huge amount because we've still got the CP2 engine, which is quoting 73 horsepower, thereabouts, 50 foot-pounds of torque, still the parallel twin, still the same capacity. But that doesn't tell the full story because there's way more power load down, way more spread of torque. And yes, it looks a little bit similar, but they've done a big transformation on the Tracer and the Tracer GT. Fuel tank, that's gone bigger, that's 1 litre. The chassis, the rigidity has completely changed. The swinging arm has gone longer on both models. The bars are now wider and they're higher. The clocks are all new. The switch gear is all new. The clocks are slightly higher. You get a bigger screen on the Tracer GT than you do on the standard Tracer. Forks are now upside down. We've now got radial brakes. Both forks are the same. It's just that one's gold and one's black. Swimming arm is longer. Seat position is changed. Grab rail's changed. Backlight has changed. Seat height is different depending if you go for the GT or if you go for the standard Tracer. The list goes on. On face value, you go, well, it's just the old bike with the old engine, isn't it? Well, no. We've got rider modes, we've got traction control. There is a big step for both the Tracer and the Tracer GT. What Yamaha have done today is allow us to just keep swapping and changing between the two bikes all day long. And it's been a really interesting test. It's been a while since I've ridden a CP2 engine bike. It's been a while since I've ridden the MT-07. I really like that bike and I really like the R7. But these two feel much more refined than I ever imagined, much more relaxed and accessible than I remember. The fueling is absolutely perfect at low speeds on both models. There's real nice drive from low down. The switch gear is relatively simple to operate. But the big thing for me is the handling and suspension. I think previously, we always loved the engine of the Tracer 7, and then we kind of felt a little bit shortchanged when it came to the suspension and the end kind of handling and feedback that you got. But the Tracer and the GT, the handling and the feedback and the control is absolutely excellent. The roads here in Portugal are far from perfect. There's places where you're going into the corner and you can see cracks and you can see imperfections. But the GT just rolls through them. It gives you great confidence and great feedback. Michelin's working really well. Okay, it's 33 degrees, so we've had ideal conditions, but the roads have not been ideal. And it's really difficult to get both bikes out of shape. We've rode them relatively hard, and the Tracer GT always felt reassuring. It felt soft, it felt plush, it felt like it was giving me feedback. It felt like it knew what was happening. Even when the pegs just start to tickle the tarmac, which they did on the very odd occasion, I didn't feel like I was on the limit, I didn't feel like I was pushing the front, I just felt secure and I felt safe. In terms of practicality, obviously the GT gets the bigger screen, it gets the panniers, it gets a few more accessories. The seat is slightly taller and that's all down to the cushioning, which means there's a little bit more room between your arse and the pegs. The ergonomics are a little bit comfier as you'd expect on the GT. The screen is a little bit larger, both get the manually operated screen. When the screen is fully upright on the GT, Yamaha claim they've reduced buffeting by making the screen thicker, and they've made the screen larger. I still got a little bit of buffeting at 150, 160 kilometers an hour, which is more than capable of doing at cruising now. We set the cruise control, which is just manual cruise control, there's no radar, and it would just churn out mile after mile, but it still felt like there was a little bit of buffeting and a little bit excessive noise, but it was an extremely windy day today. We're told that both bikes should be pretty similar because both have the same extended wheelbase with the extended swinging arm. They both got the same rigidity in the chassis. They do weigh slightly different, with obviously the Tracer being lighter. But to me, the handling feels a little bit different. The Tracer feels sportier, but a little bit, I would say, it's just not as refined, not as plush, not as soft, not as forgiving as the GT. The Tracer is a little bit more edgy, a little bit more darty. It turns a little bit quicker, but it doesn't have the kind of real nice, soft kind of plushness. And I think that's what people are expecting in this category. In terms of what I think overall, the Tracer has always been that do-it-all bike. It's the bike that you have in your garage that ticks every box. You can have a sporty ride with your friends at the weekend, you can commute on it all winter, you can take a pillion, you can pop to the pub on a Sunday afternoon. It's kind of the do-it-all bike. But Yamaha have just improved it in certain areas, with improved braking, improved suspension. The motor is a little bit smoother, the fueling is a little bit better. I've got more rider aids, I've got more gadgets. But for me, the big step on the Tracer is the suspension and the chassis and the feedback. But the surprise of the show was the GT. I didn't expect it to be as good as it is. It's just over £10,000. And as an entry-level kind of middleweight sports tourer, that's perfect. We're here in the middle of Portugal and I don't want to go home. I want to continue riding that bike. I want to continue riding through Portugal or maybe go down south. If I was looking at a entry-level touring bike and I was a young rider, that is going to tick every box. It's got enough luggage, it's got enough comfort, it's got enough power, it's got enough rider aids, and it's just over £10,000. Pass your test, jump on that, tour Scotland, tour Europe, do what you want. It is more than capable. But it's not just great at touring, it's also great at giving you that chassis feedback and enjoyment and fun. In terms of downsides, yes, if you're a bigger rider and you carry a pillion and you carry loads of luggage, then just over 70 horsepower is not going to be enough, especially if you're touring in the Alps or you're doing fast autobahn stuff. But that's what you're expecting for 8,800 or just over £10,000. For me, I'm still not familiar with the Yamaha switchgear and the weird indicator kind of cancelling and the self-cancelling. That's just something I've got to get used to. And the panniers on the GT are wider than the handlebars. So if you're going to be filtering through Milan, Rome or London, you're going to be collecting a lot of wing mirrors. But aside from the slightly bulbous panniers, it's a big tick for the Yamaha GT. I guess the only big question you're going to have is, are you going to spend just under 9,000 for the standard Tracer or just over 10,000 for the GT? If it was me, I'd go GT. I just love the way it feels. I love its all-round usability, and I love the fact that I can just jump on that bike, ride down through Europe and back again in comfort for just over 10 grand. If you want to know any more details, you want to know any specific specs, because the bars I think are 20 or 30 mil higher and 10 or 20 mil wider, and you want to know that the panniers are only 3.5 kilograms in weight per pannier, or know those like weird little facts that will impress your friends down the pub, then please fire some questions below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Don't forget to subscribe. The next time you see us, hopefully we'll get a group test together with both the Tracer and the Tracer GT against its closest competition. It'll be interesting to see which one comes out on top. But as far as first impressions here in Portugal, still the do-it-all amazing Tracer, just upped a level. The GT has impressed us, especially on these roads here. Big improvement in suspension, big improvement in chassis. I didn't think it'd go as well as it does on the roads that we've had here. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.